Yay Networks.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy. Great Girlfriends, I am so over the moon excited. Anytime I get a great girlfriend, one that's in my head, like one of my faves on the show, I'm always ecstatic. And I just want to thank WIT PR for sending over a recommendation for our guest today, Codie Elaine Oliver, who is co-founder and CEO of what we now know as the Black Love Movement, Black Love Inc. Yes, let's call it that. Black Love Inc. is the premier 100% Black-owned partner for celebrating 360 degrees of Black love. The media company, founded by Codie Elaine Oliver and husband Tommy Oliver, is a hub for Black couples and singles to have transparent conversations around relationships, parenthood, dating, and more through their OTT app, podcast network, documentaries, and live events. Birthed from the frustration of a lack of representation of healthy Black relationships in mainstream media, no one champions Black love better than this force. That is a fact. Codie Elaine Oliver and her husband, Tommy Oliver, created an independently funded Black Love Inc. to showcase authentic stories about the joys and challenges in Black families and relationships at every stage of life. Starting with the award-winning docuseries, Black Love, then blossoming into a media empire, Black Love Inc. continues to grow and amplify Black love where it's often overlooked. And the church said, amen. Let me just slow clap for you. Let me just...
Thank you. And I just said it all. I mean, what's left?
That is so much. I mean, it's so much. It's so big. It's so robust, and it was so essential. I think you guys hit the market at a time. I'm 16 years into marriage. I love my love story. I'm so passionate about my husband and our family. And I know so many others, but we were like, where's our story? Where are we celebrated? We're all in little silos, celebrating and enjoying and working through challenges, right? Because there's that and navigating. But, it's when you're living in different places around the world and you have your silos, you often wonder if it's just is it your unique story, or is it really happening in other places in the world? So
especially
that amplification,
especially when saying the opposite. There's no way to believe it's possible when you're being told it's not. Even when you have it, you're kind of like, oh, I guess we're real lucky, huh?
Yeah, we gotta hang tight. Yeah. we got. Yeah. I know. And you know what, Codie, too, the other part of it is when you have close friends who are going through divorce. And, when you start to see families that are, reshaping their story and positively, negatively, you start to wonder, what's going to be the lifespan? Is there a lifespan to this thing? Because you want yours to last eternally. And you need to see other stories where you've got people 30 years in, 20 years in. Because I'm working on 17 now. I'm at 16. I'm like, I just want to get to 16.2. And then it's a day by day. And so we needed that. It was medicine, not just for married couples. It was medicine for the culture, because so many people wondered if it was possible. Mm-hmm. And so many people have been birthed into stories where they were, born into a single mom, born into a single mom without a parent, or maybe not having a full family structure, and needed to see evidence that these are case studies. That you guys have put on the forefront, scientifically proven case studies that Black love has a formula, that there is a chemistry that can happen between us. What you got?
Well, I would say, I will actually say that there isn't a formula, right? That was the other thing that I wanted to showcase, is that there isn't one way to do it. And that was really important to me, because it's hard enough to find the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. We are always judging each other for who that is. So I wanted to, in addition to just highlighting the existence of Black love stories, I wanted to show that there are different ways people met. You could date for a day and get married. You could date for 10 years and get married. There's people shouldn't look at someone else and rule out whatever they have, and even in their own lives. You can't say, oh, if if he took 5 years to propose, he's not serious. Some aren't. Some are.
Right,
Some are
right.
getting their stuff
Yeah,
together. Some are trying to be the person you deserve. Some are scared, and we all have
yeah.
that possibility in us. And so for me, it was kind of trying to showcase that there isn't a formula. You know,
That's so good.
there's foundations that can be laid. There's
Mhm,
there's like you said, there's chemistry to be
mhm,
observed and understand,
mhm.
but there's not one way to do it. So
Mhm.
important.
That's really good. So is there okay, and then that makes true that there is not one way to sustain a marriage. There's so many different ways that
Yeah,
marriage becomes sustainable because what works for the Moody household may not work for the Oliver household, and
yeah,
right, and vice versa.
yeah,
And so we have to, at some point, build what we like to see as our love stories.
yeah. And the
So you've
nuances
learned a
too.
lot. Yeah,
There's things that we are all familiar with, like communication is key. Like we know that you
yeah,
can't dispute that. But the
yeah.
nuance to communication, the
Mhm.
need to know when to speak and when not to speak, the need to
Yeah,
recognize that your face might be speaking and saying something that
yeah,
your mouth is not. You know,
yeah,
like thinking
yeah.
about all of the various ways in which we communicate is why that statement is like, it can be harmful or it can be confusing. Communication is key. Well, we talk all the time, or I talk all the time, so
Uh-huh,
understanding
uh-huh.
that there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah. Okay, so Cody, walk us back to the day that you woke up, rolled over, tapped Tommy, and said, "Hey,
It
we
was
got to do
actually,
this."
I would say before that I knew that I had to do it.
Okay.
Long before that, I met Tommy in
Before
2013.
marriage, or oh
I
wow,
was a single woman trying to find some hope. Okay, I
yeah,
was a victim of those headlines in the media that said there's a black marriage
Mhm.
crisis and that black
Yeah,
women are not desirable, and the more degrees a black woman has, the less likely she is to find her husband. And I was in getting my master's at the time. So
wow,
that was a
yeah,
problem. And
yeah,
it wasn't just me, it was many of my friends. And
yeah,
so that I realized then how damaging the headlines were. Like I was the person who
yes,
would Google like the actual data or like the myth of the black marriage crisis. What does that mean? And so I eventually came to understand that Black people over index in lower income families. Well, the number one
Mhm.
cause of divorce is having no money, and
Right,
that being an issue. And so that's why the statistics were saying that we're more likely to get divorced. So
Mhm.
that's a factor. What's the age range that they're analyzing when they're giving this data? It started at 18. So people weren't even
Yeah,
getting like people, that's not common for people to get married
yeah,
from 18 to whatever age. I don't remember now, but there were loopholes in this data that really frustrated me, but the headlines were enough for all of us to be like, oh, well, I guess it's not going to happen for me. And
right.
so I decided then that I wanted to create a place where Black love stories live. And my parents
Mhm,
were divorced. So the other part of it
mhm,
is that I felt like I don't really know what it takes to make a marriage work. So I want to learn.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
that's really where it started. And then fast forwarding to your question, I met Tommy September 9th, 2013. And we probably talked about it 3 weeks later.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Oh my
I
goodness. Oh my
maybe two.
goodness. Very shortly in, you started talking about your vision, and
Yeah.
he was on board with it clearly and
He definitely
shared
was.
yeah, you guys share that power of wanting to see a place, a home where these stories can reside and where people can actually come home to stories, which I think is
Mhm.
fabulous. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. So I know it's not been an easy road. You guys make it look really easy, by the way. I just want to let you know that. It's glossy, it's beautiful, the kids are beautiful, there's lots
They
of joy. They are, right? They are. They're really beautiful children.
I'll give it
And
to
all of that. Yeah. And so it looks as though, Cody, your days are often sunny and bright, and I'm pretty sure there are. And I know there's still some some days in the middle where you're just like, oh, Cody, you can do it. Cody, you can do it. I want to talk about that journey of like how, because a lot of women that are listening and entrepreneurs specifically have a big
Mhm.
why, and it feels bigger than them. and the road seems longer than what they want to journey. And there's more quit moments than there are endurance. And so I want to kind of get through how you've decided to say yes to your why and how you sustain that despite these days that are the in-betweens we know.
You know, so I love I love being able to wake up and talk about love, and
Yeah.
not just love in its flowery form, but like our barriers to accepting love, to being love
Yeah.
and loved. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm very grateful for that. And
Mhm.
I know that in this country, aside from just a Black marriage crisis, we have been told time and time again as Black people that we are not worthy, we are not deserving, we are not enough. And I wanted to create a place where we are constantly affirming ourselves and one another, but also
Mhm.
a space of reality, right? Reality being
Yeah.
that love is our birthright, but we
Yeah.
have to do certain work to recognize
Mhm.
that and to be able to receive and give it freely. Um,
Mhm.
Part of my baggage was my parents being divorced and me like having this fear that would happen to me because I didn't understand why they got divorced. And so that's
Mhm.
light baggage probably. There's probably several other things, but my point is that we all come to the table with something. We
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
working to forgive our parents for their mistakes or their lack of presence
Mm.
to we're all working through things and probably much greater traumas and difficulty than that. And so
Yeah.
the realization that there's so much work involved that, or rather, people always say marriage is work. That's another one of those statements where you're like, okay, work.
Yeah.
What is that work? I'm
Yeah.
convinced, based on conversations with hundreds of married couples, that work is on ourselves. That work is
Girl.
right, because we can't control the other person as much as we would like to. And
Yes.
so that work is looking at ourselves and figuring out, what are my walls? Why can't I show up authentically or fully or in the ways that my partner
Yeah.
needs? And
Mhm.
not just like to be there for them, but what's the barrier keeping me from being happy or
Yeah.
being fulfilled? And so
Mhm.
that's the cycle of Black love, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
figuring out, what are my barriers to self-love? What are my barriers to partnership? What are my barriers to um, letting go of pain and trauma, getting through
Mhm.
it? And
Yeah.
that's what I do every day. And I'm grateful to be able to ask myself those questions, to observe people's challenges and be like, how can I help them through that?
Yeah.
Like literally a lot of episodes or a lot of couples I will seek out are motivated from, and not just Black Love Doc, but everything that we do, blacklove.com, the digital series on the app and the podcasts, they're literally rooted in me seeing a problem or my friends going through something. And I'm like, ooh, how can I help them? Let me find someone else
Yeah.
who's been through it and use them as
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
example. And so
Yeah.
that's what I get up and I'm able to do every day. And
Yeah.
so that's my why.
Yeah.
And even the possibility of creating a better space and a better life for my children through my
Mhm.
contribution at helping my community be happy and healthy and loved.
Yeah.
So all of that, there's no going back.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
There are definitely hard days.
Yeah.
There are definitely hard days.
It's something
I'll let you
because
ask questions 'cause I don't have the answers.
children really help you. I feel like for me, my why was just it just would pound on my heart every day. And I was like, I have to commit
Mhm.
to this. And then having children, I was like, I gotta do this. Like there's absolutely no way I'm going to leave this legacy, this page ripped or incomplete because I
Yeah,
want my children to walk into a better world with more hope and optimism, and that's my gift to them. I'm like, if I can give them
right.
that through the work that I do, serving them as a mom, yes, but also serving them with my full purpose on display, I think it
Mhm.
gives them a really great launch pad for whatever it is they desire to, lean into. So I love that because, you started in Great Girlfriends. Many of us will start with a why prior to, marriage or, children, all those things. But then when you start layering in, for me, what has been layers of support and confirmation of things that are necessary, like essentials in my life, it all makes it, and not that it makes it more sense, but it gives so much more justification for endurance and, persistence through those difficult, moments where you just want to hang it all up. Because I do want to acknowledge self-funding ain't easy. And I saw
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Self-funding, bootstrapping it is. Let's talk about that for a second, Codie.
Yeah. So
Bootstrapping.
we actually own the docuseries, which we license it to own. And that gives us the opportunity to, well, first off, in doing that, if you know anything about like entertainment, we had to take a much lower license fee than most people who would be selling their show to a network. And so, but of course that grew. But in doing that, we had to sacrifice. We had to do that at the beginning for the larger opportunity long term. So it has allowed us to license the show to streamers. You can see Black Love on Discovery Plus, on Hulu, on Amazon Prime. You can watch on the Black Love Plus app for free. And so all of those, that ability to do that is what we poured into Black Love Inc. as we were getting it started. In addition to the fact that because we own the show, we do the marketing for the show. OWN doesn't do a lot of that. They're a wonderful distribution partner, but they don't do any marketing for the show. And so our early events, like the Black Love Summit in 2018, that was the first of what this year will be the fifth. That is something that we did partially to get the word out, right? Like all the ways that we can touch points so we can see people in person and we can spread the word and we can have people share content. That's why we started doing some of those things. And we've just been, bringing the money in, putting the money back out to try to keep this thing moving. And so that is challenging at times, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but ownership is powerful. It gives you the keys to decide how this story is protected and how it's grown properly. So you can nurture in a very special way. Yeah. Okay, so Codie, the hard times, the mama times. I want to know, our great girlfriends, many of our listeners are sitting in the middle of entrepreneurship and contemplating how to commit to everything, wanting to have it all. And and most are from the emails and the phone calls I get and all the stuff, also trying to do it all, but feeling like
let me in, coach. Let me in.
Come on, get in, coach. Come on, get in. You in.
I actually heard a great quote the other day. I can't claim it as mine, but I've been, holding on to it. And this was from a CEO, mom of 3. And I think her oldest was 6 and her business was 6. And similar to somebody else. And she said, you can have it all, but you can't do it all.
Oh, that should set a million women free.
So that stuck with me because the reality is figuring out what you have to do. And in some cases that is outsourcing. People look at babysitters and nannies and housekeepers, and this woman had a house manager, as a luxury, and they are, but you also have to think about it's as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, we also have to think about what is the sacrifice that we're making by doing all those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember the formula, but Morgan DeBon, she was talking recently about sort of analyzing how much money you would pay yourself to, or how much money you're making throughout your day, throughout your month, throughout your year. And how can you use some of that to get people to do the things that you don't have to do? Whether those things are housekeeper, whether those things are social media manager, but figuring out how to do that frees us.
Come on.
And it's hard at first, the same way, like the first time you get a babysitter or even your parents, right? The first time you do that, we cry. We're like, nobody can watch my baby like I can watch my baby. But it's the same thing, right? It's hard, but you figure out how to do it because it frees you up to do something else that only you can do, that you can contribute to the business, or that only you can contribute to your family. You may decide I'm going to do all these other things, but I'm going to put the kids to bed. I'm going to make sure that I'm done working at this time, and I'm going to put them to bed, and then I'm going to go back to work. But we have to recognize the things that matter to us and the things that we can delegate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Because in my list on my desk, I have the stuff that I have to do, and then I have the stuff that has to get done. Those are two separate lists, Codie.
Mm.
I don't even live on the gotta get done list. That's a global list. Anybody who is a participant in this village can finish on that gotta get done list.
I like
But
that.
I gotta go get the mammogram. I gotta go. There's certain things that I want to do that I choose that I got to do. I gotta go get the passport appointment. No one can go except for me and my husband, right? But cleaning up the house and doing it gotta get done. But Sybil does not. So I have these two lists that I live by. And thank God now my children are 13 and 10. My son is equipped to vacuum just like my daughter will one day. My daughter's equipped to take out garbage just like my son will one day. I mean, just like my son does. So, it is so freeing. It creates space for us to be the women that we're called to be. And I love the idea that we don't have to do it. It can be done, but we don't have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now working with your husband and being a wife to your husband, what is your secret sauce for ensuring that you're able?
Secret sauce, huh?
What's your secret sauce for managing those separately, or have you figured that out?
I would say it goes back to communication. We definitely fought so much early on. And I will say one of the biggest lessons was, and I heard this somewhere when we started working together, that couples who work together, make sure you have very distinct separate duties. So you're never who's doing this and it falls through the cracks, or you were supposed to do that. No, you were, so distinct different duties, which we never did that until later.
Okay.
So, which is crazy because, like I said, I knew I had been given the warning, but we just didn't do it. So the secret sauce has been ultimately speaking up.
Yeah.
We used to bicker quite a bit, and one of the things that we chose to do, I don't know how many years in, was to draw a line. And there's certain things that he just doesn't deal with, and there's certain things that I don't deal with. And if we need help, if we need to brainstorm, or if he knows this is on his plate, but he better not make that final call without at least giving me a heads up, then that's the conversation that we've had to have about boundaries and lines and the way in which we communicate with each other. Because very quickly talk to somebody like he's somebody's boss, and I don't like it. So that's definitely been on our list of things to work through.
Yeah. No, communication's an ever evolving space in a marriage, because I feel like when the years progress and we evolve, you're like, I don't want you to ever talk to me that way ever again. I decided that last week. I didn't. Here's the update.
Sorry. Now you know. Didn't like it.
Now you know, and this is final. And I don't ever want to. Yeah, I mean, just things change, right? Our bodies change, our needs change, the passions, they evolve, they grow. What are some things that you now know about yourself as, a woman who's fully blossomed into motherhood and career and all the things that you didn't know that you thought you knew coming in?
Nobody said I fully blossomed. Nobody said that. I mean, I have to be honest, because my kids are 5, and then I have 3-year-old twins. And so the oldest was born in 2016, October 2016. We were knee deep in the show. We had we were editing the pitch materials, the first episode, a sizzle, etc. So by September, OWN had licensed the series, and we had to deliver it in January of the following year. So he was born in October, and ultimately we had to deliver the show in January, but it didn't air until August of the next year. And we were already on to season 2, though nobody had seen season 1. So I say that to say that we were creating this show season after season, creating the Black Love Summit 1, 2, 3, and 4, going into the 5th year now, creating constant digital series and digital content and growing our socials. And then in the pandemic, launched the podcast network and the streaming app, all while having these children. And at some point, I realized that I was pregnant or postpartum more in our relationship than I wasn't. Now I'm 3 years out of twins. Yeah, girl. So that part. Now I'm 3 years out from the twins. So I would say like 2 years out from postpartum, the postpartum period, because I'm gonna give it the whole year, not like a 3-month situation. And so, shoot, if I did some math, I mean, he and I have been together since 2013. I got pregnant at the top of 2016, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 4 years out of 7. That's when we met, but 7 years. Anyway, my point is that's a lot. That's a lot to go through for both of us, but just speaking as a woman, it's a lot of hormones and emotion and growth and change mentally, physically, emotionally, new people to take care of while growing a business, while working with my husband and not liking his tone. And so all of that has been happening. We're in a better place now in terms of like these children are, little beings. They got conversation and wants and needs and this. But I looked up a week ago or 2 weeks ago, not that this is revolutionary what I'm about to say, but it's like at this age, and you can speak for, having teenagers, preteen, but at this age, it's like whatever we conquered last month, it's not even a thing anymore. You know what? Like this month, it's like, oh, now they're peeing on themselves because we took the diapers off. Okay. Or now they're waking up more because the oldest is back in school. And so he's getting a cold and they're getting so like whatever season of change and like I've conquered parenthood. No, I haven't, because they're 3. Last week they were 3 and 8 months. I don't know how old they're 3 and 5 months. Now they're 3 and 6 months. Like they have changed. Yeah. They have changed. They're taller. They've learned new words. They hate new foods. Whatever routines we established, unfortunately, they are at liberty to change. And so
every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about fully blossoming.
But you know what they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And so I feel like when we have these, stepping into marriage first, my husband, he proposed to me 3 years in because of me, not because of him. He would have proposed in week 1. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And every day I still wake up, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Because there's so much that, like you said, the changes come so swiftly. I look and I'm like, we're back. We need new pants again. We need new shoes again. All the things are happening.
That part.
But I do, that part. But I do realize that I've learned that I don't know. And I'm okay with that. Coming into marriage, I thought I knew so much. And I was so ready to, I was like, I know certain things because I know what I know as a woman, I guess. And I thought that was going to work as a wife. Psych. So what I've learned is that it's okay to have it all tossed in the air and see where it lands. And that has become a safe space for me to wander, just to be okay with the adventure of it all. Because what you just described to me, I would panic if I had to be with 5 and 3-year-olds again all day. I would just, because I remember the juices and the sauces and all the stuff and the equipment and all the car seats. Girl, I panic with my godchildren. I'm like, you guys know how to plug yourself into this thing, right? Because I'm like, I forgot to do these things. But every stage, you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, and you learn it, and then you walk into something new. But as you start to, Codie, think about what your next chapter will be. I see you as a visionary because I understand what it has meant for you to carry that vision and ask questions that led you to this platform that you all have developed. What do you envision as your next chapter for yourself personally, professionally? Like, what do you see that you're holding on to? I see a sparkle. So I know there's something that you're like,
the sparkle is that I'm certainly in that phase of seeing for myself and not just seeing for Black love, right? Like as it has
Yeah.
grown and opportunities have been dangling, and we've been doing partnerships with brands that I'm so proud of and proud to work with, like Target and Chase, and so I get very excited about thinking about the future of that and
Mhm.
how we are able to, like I said, celebrate and affirm our community in bigger and bigger ways.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely excited about that, but I'm just in that phase of figuring out exactly what's for me as
Mhm.
I learn not just what our company needs to continue to grow and to continue to serve, but as I'm actually able to give it what it needs, right? Feed it,
Yeah.
right? But that's
Yeah.
growth in terms of team members and in terms of, like I said, more partnerships and the places that we're able to touch and like go out in the world and have live events and create more content. And so as I'm
Mhm.
able to delegate, right, not do it all,
Mhm.
slowly, um,
Yeah.
I'm finally at a place where I can let that sparkle kind of grow and I can assess what's for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. The blessing when your kids get to this spot where my kids are, it's something like there's a fresh zest. I don't know where it comes from.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it comes from heaven, but there's a zest because that independence is so special. And it is
Yeah.
it is actually also freeing in our minds to have the assurance that they're gonna be okay doing some of the things that you like, can they do it? Yes, they can. Will they
Yeah.
do it? And now to see them doing it, you're going to remember this conversation and be like, there it is. There's that feeling of like, and you have those beautiful boys, and to just see that, like, they're becoming, it is so rich. It's so rich. I was looking over old football tape from my son today, crying, like, oh my gosh, look at him now. He's almost 6 feet and he was, a little guy. So, what is it that you wished for your legacy to be before? And what is it now?
Mm.
When you were young with the fresh energy, no husband, working on the masters, and I know you came from Texas. Did you come from
Yeah.
Texas to LA? Straight to LA?
Texas, DC, LA.
Texas, DC, LA. So, as you were out and about versus where you are now and you have
Mhm.
touched the world in different ways, what do you see that
Mhm.
legacy as?
Excuse me. So,
Mhm.
for me, it's always been about positively impacting the Black community. My parents have, they collect. My parents were always like unapologetically Black. Um,
Yeah.
Went to Howard. They were both second generation Howard. I'm third. Well, my mom would probably say fourth. She said fourth. So I don't know if I'm fourth HBCU or fourth Howard. But
Uh-huh.
we're very HBCU educated up in here.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
my mom was a lawyer, my dad was a doctor, and he and his my grandfather had a practice in on the south side of Fort Worth, Texas, where they served the Black community exclusively and or I'll say anyone who lived in the area, but
Mhm.
primarily Black people, to the point where if our community needed medical care, they didn't always charge people because that's
Yeah.
what was important to them was making sure that we were taken care of. And that is what I come from. That's what's instilled in me. And
Mhm.
I never knew exactly what that would look like for me. Um, but like, what was my profession going to be? I don't even remember what it was going into college. There was no specificity. It was like, I knew I wanted to be creative, but I knew my parents were entrepreneurs. So I was like torn in both directions, right? Like entrepreneurs in
Yeah.
law and medicine. And so when it transitioned into journalism and then film, unexpectedly, both of those things, journalism in
Uh-huh.
undergrad, then film in grad school, it was always about like telling our stories. So that's been the through line for sure.
Mhm.
How can I
Mhm.
tell our stories and highlight, I would honestly say like highlight and affirm us
Yeah.
for the rest of the
Yeah.
world to also see us as we are.
Yeah.
When I went to
Yeah.
film school, it was like I wanted to make rom-coms with Black people, and
Mhm.
so I never thought I'd be in the documentary space. So to circle back and to be like making content, unscripted content, so like kind of going back to journalism, I'm using all my degrees and I'm using
That's
it for
right.
my people. So my parents are happy and, and my education has been worthwhile.
That's
So
right. That's right.
that's been the through line for me for sure.
I love it. I love it. So how can we support what's happening in the Black love world now? And how can we
Sure.
support you and that spark that's happening as you start to, you know, I guess
You
I should
know,
say, unveil certain new facets of who you are and what you want in this journey?
I would say for the Black Love universe, like download the app. It is free. The Black Love Plus app. You can get it anywhere you get your apps. You can watch it on your big screen. You can watch it on your phone, whatever works for you. We have tons of shows there. Not just all seasons of Black Love, but we have other digital series with lots of different talent and fun stories. So that also listen to the Black Love Podcast Network. We have several podcasts there, but two that I'm on, My New BFF, where
Mhm.
I interview people that I admire and just get beyond the persona. And the Mama's Den, I would say, is one that I'm super excited for and proud of
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
motherhood is a huge part of who I am. One thing, in addition to wanting to impact my community, I always wanted to be a mom. I always felt
Yeah.
like a mom. And but with that comes a lot of parts of the journey and questions. And I believe heavily that community is important for mothers. For parents, I'm sure
Yes.
I can't speak for the men's, but for mothers, community is really
Yes.
important. It can be, there's no reason for us to feel isolated in anything that we do right now because there's more
So true.
resources and community than ever. We just have to seek it. So
Yes.
the Mama's
Yeah.
Den is certainly that fun place where it's me and three other mamas just talking about what we're going through.
Oh,
Um,
that's fun.
about it. Yeah. Check it out, please.
I
Um,
will. Yeah.
so I would say, follow the all things Black love and
Mhm.
then tell us what you tell me. I read the DMs. Tell me what you want more of. Tell
Yeah.
me how we can continue to make an impact. So that's
Mhm.
really it for me.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much, Cody, for being so generous and transparent in this
Sure. Thank
conversation.
you.
I know so many women will gain a lot of fresh perspective and confidence, and safety. Like you said, isolation is so dangerous to anything that you want to see manifested in your
Yeah.
life, what you're working towards. Isolation it cancels life. It really is negative. And feeling connected and feeling seen in someone else's story is so valuable.
Yeah.
So I am always honored when I have someone like you to come on and share your story and be transparent enough to open the door for other people to feel seen. So I want to thank you personally for doing that. And yes, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. Also, where can I keep up with you on Instagram?
Oh, yes.
That
At Codie Co on Instagram, CODIECO. Mostly you see my children. Every once in a while, I'll pop in there. And then, of
uh-huh.
course, I have Black Love.
Awesome. Awesome. Cody, thank you for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _great GFS. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.